You're gonna say the intro?
But like, what do I say? Like, what is up, YouTube?
Like, if it was your channel, how would you address it? Go!
I don't know what to say though. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to...
Jesus Christ, you were right there.
What is going on, YouTube? Today... What is on...
What is on you?
I mean...
Nothing's on you yet.
What is going on, YouTube? My name is Nathaniel Jimenez and my uncle Sergio Barron is going to cut my hair. Don't forget to subscribe.
Shit, I think I need a booster seat. You're still little. I almost forgot you're still a baby. What's going on, Faded Culture? My name is Sergio Barron and we are back with another haircut tutorial. Today I got my nephew here on the chair and I'm gonna show y'all step by step how to give your nephew a haircut. So if you have a nephew laying around, pick him up, put him on a chair, and let's get right to it. And before we start, guys, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, like it at the end if y'all learned something from it, and let me know down in the comments what y'all did or didn't like about the video. Before starting any haircut, I always lubricate and disinfect my tools by using a little bit of some disinfectant spray. And also, guys, use Faded Culture 10 at WAHL.com to purchase any tools so y'all can get 10% off, as we just did partner up with them. But here I am quickly saturating the hair with water just because this is going to facilitate the way we section the hair out. And all I'm doing is sectioning out the sides from the top so we can start our fade work, as I don't want the top to get in the way of my fade work. When sectioning the hair, it can get a little tricky at first, but all you're looking for is for the hair to lay down as natural and clean as possible. So if you see the hair bounce back or want to lift away from where you are trying to comb it, then just redo it till you have a clean section. We are doing somewhat of a horseshoe section, so from the back swirl part of the hair up to the front corner is where we will section out. And then once it's sectioned out, just go ahead and blow dry it back down so we can start our clipper work. The clipper work is always going to be easier when the hair is dry. And so for us to debulk, I'm going to go ahead and grab my number 3 guard with the lever fully open, and we're going to go ahead and start debulking around this area of the head. And as you see here, I like to use a comb just to kind of help push down the top part of the hair so that we can kind of leave a little bit more length in that area and not take out so much. As you see here, I just kind of feed the hair into the clipper, and then it kind of leaves this bulk ridge on the top area. So all we're doing is removing a lot of this excess hair from where we will be setting in our guidelines so that it's easier to see where the guidelines are set in. So that's all debulking means, guys. And if y'all want the steps in written format, go ahead and check them out down in the description, as we do have them there. Also, along with all the tools and products that we use on this channel, we have them down there in the description. And also, guys, I did switch up my fading steps for this haircut tutorial. Let me know how y'all like these steps down in the comments. And here is the lever open, and for those that don't know, lever closed is the lever in this position, and lever open is when you push it all the way back. For this one, I'm gonna start with the clipper lever open, and I'm gonna just come up about a finger width from where the ear is, and I'm gonna just make sure that this first line contours the shape of his head. So I'm gonna make sure it curves as I go towards the back of the head. And just soft, gentle strokes, guys, making sure you lay down that first guideline as straight and as even as possible, at the same time as soft as possible, so that it's not so harsh when it comes to blending it out. I always say the first guideline is probably the most important, just because this will determine how straight and even your fade will be. So if you get this one crooked, then the rest of your fade will be crooked. So just make sure you take your time and get it as straight as possible. And then we're gonna go ahead and throw on the number 1 guard, still keeping that lever in the fully open position. And then I'm gonna just come up about a finger width from that previous line, with just soft, gentle strokes, guys, coming up about a finger width, like I said, or a ½ inch. Then once we're done there, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my 1½ guard, still leaving that lever fully open. And here I'm not so much focusing on setting in a guideline, but as you see here, I'm trying to connect that top guideline to that number 3 bulk that we left on top. So as you see, it's a small gap of a space. So all you're doing is flicking that top guideline into that top bulk. As you see here from this angle, you kind of see that I flare out as I reach that top bulk, so we don't cut too much into that top bulk. And then just take your time. Sometimes these guidelines don't come out as soon as you lay the clipper down. It takes a few strokes and a little bit of finessing of the clipper so that line softens up a little at a time. And I know sometimes when cutting kids, it could get annoying because they are not really good at holding their head still and they get impatient very quickly. So for that, I recommend you just charge them triple, and then make sure you give them like an iPad or something to just kind of keep them occupied. So next, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my half guard, and I'm gonna position that lever into that 3/4 position. And all that really is the lever in between halfway and fully open. And as you see here, we have this guideline that we need to blend out. It's gonna take 2 guards, but for now we'll start with this half guard at that lever position at 3/4. And as you see here, I'm using the corner of the clipper trying to detail out that line. And I'm doing it again a little at a time, focusing on a small portion of the haircut at a time. And I'm only moving up about 1/4 inch at a time, not taking it up any higher than that. Any little dark areas that you do see that this guard creates above, we'll go ahead and come back with the higher guard to finish taking it out. So for now, just focus on the initial start of the guideline by trying to soften it up as much as possible. And as you see here, we're left with that little bit of a weight line that half guard left behind. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my 1 guard now, and I'm gonna still leave that lever in that 3/4 position. And I'm gonna start blending out the rest of that guideline to take it out as much as possible. As you see here, I'm only moving up about 1/4 inch, guys. Don't try to take it up any higher than that. And I'm using more so the corner of the clipper just so that I can get in there in a more detailed fashion, and I'm not setting in any more hard lines that we want. So just take your time and just blend out those dark areas as much as possible. And don't depend too much on the clipper alone, guys. It's up to you to kind of utilize that tool as if you're sculpting the fade out. So use your intuition a little and kind of flare out that clipper so that you can create that fade effect. And just like anything, guys, it all comes with practice, and it's all about the repetitions. The more you do it, the more it's gonna make sense. The more you study these tutorials and go back and practice, it's just how many reps you're trying to get in and how bad do you want it. But once that line is blended out as much as possible, we can go ahead and start setting in our next guideline. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use my trimmer, and as you see here, I'm setting in that guideline right on top of where the bottom bulk is. So that's gonna be your reference point from where to start. I'm basically just cutting the top portion of the bulk. As you see here, you can even see that I leave a little bit of that bulk still behind. That's kind of where the position of this bald line that I'm trying to set in is gonna be at. And keep in mind that my tools are 0 gapped. That's really important, guys, because when your tools and your trimmer and your clippers are 0 gapped, it's gonna make it a lot easier when blending into a skin fade, and we use our electric shaver. It's kind of hard to blend into an electric shaver when your tools ain't 0 gap, guys. So if y'all are interested in 0 gapping y'all's tools, there's a video down in the description so y'all can see how I go ahead and 0 gap my tools. And since this is a sharp trimmer, go ahead and just lay down this line as soft as possible. You don't want to dig it in to where it creates or makes it hard for you to blend out. But here I'm gonna start with the clipper lever closed and start blending out this last guideline. And since it does take about 3 lever positions to blend out, 3 to 4 depending on the haircut, I do break down this last line into several sections. So as you see here, I started with the clipper lever closed, and I'm just focusing in the front temple area. Then I opened it halfway, just scooted up a little bit higher as you see here, and then I moved it to that 3/4 position, continued to blend a little higher, and then after that I just went ahead and opened the lever completely open to finish blending out that line. Usually by the time you get to that last lever position, it's real minimal what you're gonna blend out, and that's how you know you're kind of staying in good space when it comes to blending out this line, because if you create a really hard line by the time you get to this lever position, that means you probably started a little too high with the clipper lever closed. So as you see here, I'm gonna just move down about another 2 inches down the line, and then just repeating the process, starting with the clipper lever closed, then I open it halfway, then to that 3/4 spot, and then fully open. Usually with people that have more dense hair or a lot thicker hair, guys, I use 4 lever positions, and the thinner the hair is, I'll use about 3 lever positions, as the line does tend to blend out faster. So just keep in mind, guys, you're only moving up a small space at a time, starting with the clipper lever closed, halfway, then at 3/4, and then fully open. And little by little, you should start to see that line starting to soften up and blend out. And sometimes, guys, it's best to just kind of run through the process first and then come back and do any touch-up work, because then sometimes it could get a little overwhelming and frustrating when you're there trying to tackle it all and get it perfect right from the jump. It kind of tends to throw me off sometimes. So as you see here, I went through the steps and I still went back and redid it just because I still noticed that I had left the line still there. So I just repeated the process, went back and cleaned it up. Yeah, for some reason, when I spend too much time on the first go, sometimes I tend to take the fade up a little higher than when I want to. So I'd rather just kind of lay it down and then come back and refine it. But once we're done blending out that line, guys, we're gonna go ahead and start taking out the rest of the bottom of the hair. And as you see here, I'm kind of flaring out as I reach the top part of the bulk, and that's just to leave this little faint line right here that you see. And this is purposely there so that we can have a guideline for us for when we come in with our electric shaver. So as we reach that little dark line right there that y'all see, I'm gonna just release tension on the electric shaver so that I don't create any harsh line, and then it minimizes the risk of creating hard lines into the fade. So I'm gonna just use this shaver up until that line and then just kind of blend in the bottom baldness into the fade. And for whatever reason, if y'all feel like y'all left a little faint line still behind, just don't worry, come back with your trimmer and then just blend it out and detail it out so you can get your fade as clean as possible. It's always a good idea to keep the fade in mind, guys, and then just keep taking a step back, reanalyzing the fade, and see where you feel you need to keep touching up the haircut. So once I'm done with all the steps, I take a step back, like I said, and kind of analyze and see where I need to refine the fade a little more. So in these areas, I felt like there were some dark spots, so I went ahead and threw on my half guard and then positioned the lever at 3/4, and with the corners just kind of detailed those areas out to create a better, smooth of a blend. But once you're satisfied with the fade, we can go ahead and move forward by redampening the top of his hair so we can start our shear work up top. And I am going to be using our very own hair cutting shears, guys. They do come in a leather pouch with the thinning shears and the cutting shears. They are about 6 inches, and they do come with a faded culture metal card and the tension screw. Y'all can go ahead and find these at fadedculture.com. We've been getting a lot of good review, guys, so I hope y'all like them just as much as we do. They also have that beveled thumb grip so that you don't have to tuck your thumb in all the way when you're cutting on top. It's a lot more comfortable on the wrist this way. But here to begin, I'm gonna go ahead and section out my profile section about a finger width in length. And this is just to determine how much we are going to cut up top so that we can go ahead and match up the rest of the hair to this section. So this is where you decide, guys, if you want to leave the front longer than the back or whatever kind of shape you want to cut into the top of the hair. For this one, I'm just going ahead and following the natural shape of his head and just cutting off about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of length on top. And then once I cut out the beginning part of the section, I'm gonna go ahead and just match up the rest of the profile section to that front section that we cut. So I'm just letting go of a piece, picking up the next piece, and then just matching it up, moving down along the middle of his head. Then here I'm gonna just go ahead and match it up to the back length of his head so that we have a seamless transition from the bottom back to the top of his hair. But now that we have our length cut in, I'm gonna go ahead and push that profile section to either side of his head, and I'm gonna start working on the right panel of his head. So as you see here, I'm just combing out about a finger width of a section at a time. I'm gonna pull that up, and we're just looking to match up to that profile section. So once you comb that up, guys, and I like to use the fine tooth side of the comb to create a little more tension. But here you see the guide on the left side of my finger, and I'm just gonna match up the right panel to that section. And instead of cutting a blunt straight line, I'm just go ahead and use this cutting angle to create a little more texture on top. So I'm just cutting about 45-degree cuts into my line. And then just move forward about a finger width of a section at a time. From the back, moving forward until we match up the whole right panel to that middle section. And then once we're done cutting the top, I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure that nothing hangs off to the sides too much over the fade. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly pull out small sections so I can blend the top to the sides. And then next, I'm gonna just go ahead and utilize my thinning shears just to blend any bulk or hard weight lines that you see that are left behind. So if you see any little dark areas or some areas that you kind of see ain't really seamlessly blending into the sides from the top, that's where you're gonna go ahead and grab these blending thinning shears to quickly soften up those areas. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my trimmers and detail the C-cup areas by just gently tapping along the edges of the C-cup to get them as sharp as possible. And this area right here was bugging me. It looked like it wasn't blended all the way through, so I went ahead and came back in with my shears to quickly blend those areas into the top. But next, I'm gonna go ahead and start prepping my straight razor to shave out those C-cup areas. I'm using our very own Faded Culture razor blades along with our Turkish razor. Again, guys, all our tools and products y'all can find at fadedculture.com. And for those that are curious on how to use a Turkish razor, me personally, I like to snap off the edges of our blades as you see here. It's just gonna make it a little easier when it comes to inserting the beginning part of the blade to the front side of the Turkish razor. The Turkish razor has like a small little insert in the front, and all you're doing is sliding it in to your preferred exposure. And once you get it in, you're all ready and set to start your shaving. Just go ahead and apply a little bit of shaving gel to the areas that you will be shaving, and this just is a better way to shave so that you don't irritate the skin, and it just results in a cleaner shave. First, I always shave down, making sure that I use my opposite hand to create tension on the skin to help that razor slide a little easier. And then once I take out most of the hair, I come back and reverse shave to get sharper lines. As you see here that I'm just pushing up against the hard line that I created with my trimmer. And now all that's left to do is quickly style his hair. I like to use a little matte clay on short textured hair, guys. So first I wet the hair up top, and then I grab about a dime size of product into my hands, and then I'm gonna quickly emulsify it into my hands. You wanna make sure you get that product to disappear into your hands before you start rubbing it into the hair. Make sure you get it down all the way into the root, and you don't just lay it on top of the hair so that it don't weigh it down from the top. You wanna really work it down, starting from the root down up to the top. And once it's there, I'm gonna start the blow drying process with that temperature set to about medium and the airflow to about medium. And I'm gonna start blow drying the area as I use my fingers to kind of bring out the texture and start pushing the hair into the direction that we want it to lay. And once we're about like 95 or 98% dry, you can go ahead and switch it to that cool mode to start locking in the hairstyle that you want to keep. And once you're fully done, guys, it's always a good idea to come back, still take a step back, look at the haircut overall, and determine if you need to do any more touch-up work. But here's the before, guys, and here's the after on a low fade with a little texture on top. I hope y'all really enjoyed this tutorial, guys, and were able to learn something from it. If y'all did, again, just let me know down in the comments. Also, leave me some suggestions on what other haircut tutorials y'all like to see on this channel. Again, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. It's been a pleasure having y'all here. Until next time, my name is Sergio Barron, this is Faded Culture, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next video. Peace.